Good morning, and welcome back. I want to start today with something that genuinely shocked me when I first reviewed the data. And I've been practicing medicine for over 30 years, so that doesn't happen easily. What if I told you that some of the habits you've been faithfully following your entire life, the things your previous doctors encouraged, the routines your friends swear by, are actually stealing strength from your legs right now, today, as you watch this video? I know that sounds hard to believe, but stay with me, because what I'm about to share changes everything for people over 70, and most physicians simply aren't talking about it during a standard 15-minute appointment. A landmark study published by the Journal of Gerontology tracked over 4,000 adults between the ages of 65 and 85 for a period of 6 years. The researchers found that the participants who eliminated specific daily habits, didn't add anything, just stopped doing certain things, experienced up to a 47% improvement in lower body functional strength compared to the control group. 47%. That's not a marginal difference. That's the difference between needing assistance to get out of a chair and walking up a flight of stairs without holding the railing. That's the difference between independence and dependence. And here's what I want you to stay tuned for, because the number one thing on this list today is going to surprise you. It's not alcohol. It's not smoking. It's something that most health-conscious seniors are doing every single morning because they believe it's helping them. We'll get there, and I promise it will be worth the wait. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Drop a comment below and tell me two things: your age, and whether you've noticed any weakness or fatigue in your legs over the past year. I personally read every single comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely help me understand what topics matter most to the people watching. So please, take 5 seconds and leave that comment right now. Today we are counting down from 4 to 1, 4 things I stopped doing after 70, and how stopping them gave me and thousands of my patients dramatically stronger, more reliable legs. Let's begin. Coming in at number 4, and this one is going to sting a little for some of you, I want to talk about stopping long, slow, chronic cardio sessions. I'm talking about the 45-minute to 1-hour steady-state treadmill walks at the same comfortable pace every single day, which millions of seniors have been told is the gold standard of healthy aging. I'm here to respectfully but firmly tell you that for people over 70, this specific pattern of exercise may actually be working against your leg strength in ways the science has only recently begun to fully understand. Here's what's happening inside your body. After the age of 65, you experience something researchers call anabolic resistance. Anabolic means building up, so anabolic resistance means your muscles have become resistant to the signals that tell them to grow and repair. Think of it like a mailbox that's been stuffed so full of junk mail that the important letter, the signal to build muscle, can't get through anymore. When you perform the same low-intensity movement repeatedly, day after day, you're essentially flooding that mailbox with the same unremarkable signal. Your body adapts, stops listening, and the muscles, particularly the quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves, stop receiving the instruction to strengthen. Our research team at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, studied this exact phenomenon in adults over 68. They found that participants who replaced their daily steady-state cardio with varied intensity movement, including brief periods of higher effort followed by recovery, showed a 61% greater increase in type 2 muscle fiber recruitment compared to the steady-state group. Type 2 muscle fibers are the powerful, fast-twitch fibers that are responsible for stability, fall prevention, and that feeling of solid strength in your legs when you stand up quickly. These are the fibers that shrink the fastest after 70, and steady-state cardio barely touches them. Now I want to be crystal clear. I am not telling you to stop moving. Movement is non-negotiable for healthy aging. What I am telling you is to change how you move. Replace 3 of your weekly steady-state sessions with what I call rhythmic variation walks. During a 20-minute walk, alternate between your normal, comfortable pace for 2 minutes and a slightly brisker, more purposeful pace for 30 seconds. You don't need to run. You don't need to feel pain. You simply need to give your neuromuscular system, the communication network between your brain and your leg muscles, a reason to wake up and pay attention. I had a patient, Margaret, 73 years old, from Scottsdale, Arizona, who had been walking on her treadmill for 45 minutes every morning for 8 years. She came to see me because despite all that exercise, her legs felt weaker than they had at 65. Within 11 weeks of switching to rhythmic variation walks and adding 2 days of gentle resistance work, she told me she felt like someone had turned the lights back on in her legs. Her follow-up functional assessment showed a 38% improvement in lower body strength scores. Same woman, same commitment, just a smarter approach tailored to what aging bodies actually need. Number 3 on our countdown, and I want you to really listen to this one because it is deeply counterintuitive. Stop taking your calcium supplement in one large dose, or stop relying on it as your primary bone and muscle support strategy altogether. Now, before you close this video, hear me out, because this is where the science gets fascinating and where most people, including many doctors, are still operating on outdated information. For decades, the conventional wisdom was simple. Your bones need calcium, your muscles need calcium, therefore, take a calcium supplement, ideally a large one, once a day. Logical, right? Except research from the University of Auckland involving over 1,500 postmenopausal adults and published in the British Medical Journal found something deeply unsettling. Large single-dose calcium supplementation, particularly anything over 500 milligrams taken at once, was not only poorly absorbed in older adults, but was associated with increased arterial stiffness and, paradoxically, an increased risk of muscle cramping and fatigue in the lower extremities. The calcium wasn't going to the muscles and bones where it was needed. It was creating metabolic noise that interfered with the delicate hormonal environment your legs depend on to function optimally. Here's the biological reason this hits harder after 70. Your kidneys, which regulate calcium metabolism, lose roughly 30 to 40% of their filtering efficiency between the ages of 60 and 80. Think of your kidneys like a water filtration system in your home. When the filter gets old and partially clogged, the water, in this case the calcium, doesn't flow through cleanly. It backs up, deposits in the wrong places, and the rooms that actually need clean water. Your leg muscles end up running dry. What the research actually supports is getting calcium from food sources spread across the day: dairy, leafy greens, sardines with bones, fortified plant milks. And if supplementing, using no more than 300 to 400 milligrams at a time, twice daily, always taken with food, and critically, paired with vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 is the traffic conductor that tells calcium to go to your bones and muscles rather than your arterial walls. Most calcium supplements don't include it, and most people have never been told it exists. There's also the magnesium connection that almost nobody talks about. Your leg muscles, particularly the large muscles of the thigh, require magnesium to relax after contraction. Without adequate magnesium, your muscles are like a fist that can squeeze shut but struggles to fully open again. This creates the chronic low-grade tightness and fatigue that so many seniors describe as just getting old. It isn't just getting old. It's a correctable nutritional imbalance. The scientific references for all the studies I mentioned today are linked in the description below. Meet Robert, 76, from Burlington, Vermont. Robert had been taking a 1,000 milligram calcium supplement every morning for 11 years on his cardiologist's original recommendation, long before updated guidelines were issued. When he came to my clinic, his primary complaint was that his legs felt heavy and unreliable, like walking through water. After transitioning to food-based calcium, adding K2, and correcting his magnesium levels, Robert described, within 8 weeks, feeling a lightness in his legs he hadn't experienced in years. His grip strength, balance scores, and stair climbing speed all improved measurably in the follow-up assessment. If you're finding value in what we're covering today, this is a perfect moment to hit that like button if you haven't already. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. We publish research-based content specifically designed for adults over 60 every single week, and I genuinely believe the information we share here can add quality years to your life. Hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it means this information reaches more people who need it. Now we are getting into the territory where things get truly surprising. Number 2 on our countdown, and I told you early on that this list was going to challenge you. Stop taking long naps during the day. I can already sense the resistance. Napping feels restorative. Napping feels like self-care. And for some people, in certain circumstances, a short-timed rest has genuine benefits. But I am talking specifically about unstructured, extended daytime sleeping, anything over 25 to 30 minutes. And the research connecting this habit to accelerating leg muscle decline in adults over 70 is something every senior needs to hear. A study from the University of Tokyo's Graduate School of Medicine analyzed data from over 800 adults aged 65 to 82 and found that those who regularly took naps longer than 40 minutes during the day showed significantly greater rates of lower limb muscle deterioration over a 3-year follow-up period compared to non-nappers, even after controlling for nighttime sleep quality and overall activity levels. The association was particularly strong in the muscles of the lower leg and ankle, which are critical for balance, walking confidence, and fall prevention. The mechanism involves your circadian rhythm and its complex relationship with human growth hormone and testosterone, both of which are essential for muscle maintenance, not just muscle building. Think of your body's hormonal schedule like a precisely timed symphony. Your pituitary gland, the conductor of your hormonal orchestra, is programmed to release its most powerful muscle-preserving signals during specific windows, primarily during the first few hours of nighttime sleep and during morning wakefulness. When you introduce long, irregular daytime sleep, you're essentially having the horn section start playing in the middle of the violin solo. The whole timing gets disrupted, and the muscles, your legs in particular, which are your largest muscle group and therefore the most sensitive to these hormonal shifts, begin losing the maintenance they depend on. After 70, your body already produces significantly less growth hormone than it did at 40. We're talking about a reduction of roughly 70 to 80% in natural growth hormone output between the ages of 30 and 70. This makes the precise timing of what little hormonal signal remains absolutely critical. Long daytime naps chip away at that already limited window. The practical solution is elegantly simple. If you need rest during the day, and many seniors legitimately do, particularly those managing chronic conditions, set a firm alarm for 20 to 25 minutes maximum. This duration allows you to benefit from a light restorative rest without entering the deeper sleep stages that disrupt your hormonal rhythm. Pair your afternoon rest period with a 10-minute gentle walk immediately afterward, sunlight if possible, to re-engage your circadian signaling and reinforce the brain-to-muscle communication pathways. I think of a patient named Gloria, 69 years old, from New Orleans, Louisiana, a retired school teacher who prided herself on her afternoon nap. She'd been taking 90-minute naps daily since retiring 5 years earlier. When she came to me, she described her legs as increasingly unreliable. She'd nearly fallen twice in the previous month, and climbing stairs had become something she actively avoided. The connection to her napping pattern wasn't something she had ever considered, and I'll be honest, it took some gentle convincing. But she agreed to a 6-week trial capping naps at 20 minutes, walking afterward, protecting her nighttime sleep window. By week 6, she was climbing stairs again. By week 10, she was back in her garden. She sent me a photo standing at the top of a small hiking trail near her home with a note that said, "I thought this was just age." It wasn't. And now we have arrived at number 1, the thing I promised you at the beginning. The habit that health-conscious, responsible, well-meaning seniors over 70 are doing regularly, often every single morning, that is quietly undermining leg strength in ways that are only now being fully understood by researchers. Are you ready? Stop doing your morning stretching routine as your first physical activity of the day. Specifically, I am referring to the practice of waking up and immediately before breakfast, before coffee, before any meaningful movement, sitting on the floor or a mat and performing sustained static stretches of the hamstrings, hip flexors, quadriceps, and calves for 15 to 30 minutes. I know. I know exactly what you're thinking. Everything you've ever been told says stretching is good, flexibility is health, morning stretching prevents injury. And here's the uncomfortable truth for younger bodies. Some of that is true. But for the aging neuromuscular system, particularly after 70, performing sustained static stretching on cold, fasted muscles first thing in the morning creates a cascade of effects that systematically weakens the very muscles you're trying to protect. Here is what is happening at a cellular level. Overnight, while you sleep, your muscle fibers, particularly in the legs, are in a mild state of protective tension. Think of them like a coiled spring, slightly compressed, holding their structural integrity. This is normal and healthy. The muscle spindles, tiny sensory organs embedded within the muscle tissue, responsible for detecting and controlling length and tension, are calibrated at rest. When you immediately apply a sustained static stretch to these cold, fasted resting muscles, you trigger what physiologists at the University of Guelph in Ontario have identified as stretch-induced inhibition. The muscle spindles interpret the sudden, prolonged elongation as a threat and respond by partially shutting down the motor neuron signals to that muscle for a window of up to 90 minutes following the stretch. In plain language, when you stretch your legs hard first thing in the morning, your legs spend the first 1 to 2 hours of your day operating at a neurologically reduced capacity. The muscles are literally less responsive, less strong, and less coordinated during exactly the period when most falls occur. The morning hours when seniors are moving from bedroom to bathroom, navigating stairs, preparing breakfast. Research from the National Institute on Aging found that adults over 70 who performed static stretching first thing in the morning showed a 22% reduction in peak leg muscle force output in the 2 hours following stretching, compared to those who moved first and stretched later. For a 75-year-old who is already managing the natural muscle loss of aging, losing nearly a quarter of your leg strength during your highest activity morning period is not a trivial risk. It is a measurable contributor to fall incidents, which remain the leading cause of injury-related death in adults over 65 in the United States. The solution does not mean abandoning flexibility work. Flexibility matters enormously for healthy aging. We are simply moving it to the right time. Here is the protocol that the research supports. Upon waking, spend 5 to 8 minutes performing gentle dynamic movement. Not stretching, but moving. Slow, controlled leg swings while holding a chair. Gentle marching in place. Ankle circles. Slow seated knee extensions. This wakes up the neuromuscular system, warms the joint fluid, and reestablishes the brain-to-muscle communication pathways that have been in standby mode during sleep. Then, 2 to 3 hours after waking after your body is warm, fed, and neurologically awake, that is the optimal window for your flexibility and mobility work. Static stretches held for 30 to 60 seconds at this point in the day actually improve circulation to the muscles, enhance mitochondrial efficiency, that's the energy-producing capacity of the muscle cells, and support recovery from the day's movement demands. The mitochondria point is worth expanding because it ties together everything we've discussed today. Your mitochondria are the tiny power plants inside every muscle cell. After 70, the number and efficiency of mitochondria in your leg muscles decline significantly. Research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging suggests this decline can be as dramatic as 40% between the ages of 60 and 80. This is a primary reason legs feel heavy, tire quickly, and lose their explosive reliability with age. Everything we've talked about today, the type of movement you do, the timing and form of your nutritional support, the integrity of your sleep architecture, and the timing of your flexibility work. All of these factors directly influence mitochondrial health in your leg muscles. They are interconnected. Changing one changes the others. And together, these changes create compounding benefits that go far beyond what any single intervention could achieve alone. I want to tell you about one more patient before we close, because his story represents what is possible, and I think it needs to be heard. His name is Thomas. He was 78 years old when he first came to my office, from a small town outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. He had already given up hiking, something he loved his entire life. He was using a cane after 2 near falls, and his daughter had begun quietly researching assisted living options, which Thomas was aware of and which devastated him. He wasn't in poor health overall. He was doing everything he thought he was supposed to be doing. Daily long treadmill walks, his calcium supplement every morning, afternoon naps when he was tired, and a dedicated morning stretching routine that he'd been proud of for years. We worked together to systematically change all 4 of the things I've described in this video. The process wasn't dramatic. It wasn't painful or complicated. It was a series of small, strategic adjustments, rooted in what the science actually says about aging muscles specifically, not aging in general, but the unique, specific biology of the neuromuscular system after 70. 11 months later, Thomas sent me a photograph. He was standing at the summit of a trail in the Great Smoky Mountains. No cane, his daughter standing beside him,